Girl got kicked out of bank for her color, but what she does next is amazing. I'm sure there's never a dull moment for those who serve on the front line of community policing in our local communities, because the police are called out to a wide variety of situations, ranging from the weird to the ordinary. After what he did for an American teen girl who had been ejected out of a local Bank of America, a police officer from Arizona has now won the hearts of people all around the country. This is a result of what he did for the girl. When Officer Robert Joseph responded to a tense situation at a bank, he wasn't sure what to anticipate when he arrived there. The staff had confronted him about an upset black female who was 20 years old. Given the age of the person involved in the incident, this police officer could have handled the situation in 5 minutes. Instead, he chose to take his time and go the extra mile in order to demonstrate his respect and compassion for the individual. The Phoenix, Arizona Police Department received a complaint regarding an unruly client just outside of the city limits of Phoenix. Officer Robert Joseph was the first person to arrive at the scene after the incident. As he entered the bank, he observed a young woman of 20 years of age who was quite disturbed and distressed. Just taking some money out of her account was all that the young woman intended to do. Nevertheless, nobody at the bank was willing to wait on her or assist her because she had a problem with her eyes, and it took a long time to find her identification card. The young woman's request to withdraw her money from the bank could not be processed since she did not provide the necessary identification. The young woman was confused and irritated because she did not get the reason. After one of the tellers upset a customer by telling her, "You're not the correct color, honey," the staff of the bank eventually sought the police for assistance in removing the man from the building. Before we continue, make sure to subscribe, hit the like button, and click the notification bell for more amazing stories. In addition to that, your lack of eyesight is necessary to see. I believe that anyone who has ever been in her position will most certainly be able to relate to the circumstance that this young woman found herself in. As Officer Joseph arrived on the scene and found out what was going on, he made the decision to take a course of action that was a little bit outside the norm. He was aware that he needed to take action, and despite the fact that it would have been entirely normal for him to simply usher the distraught young woman out of the building, he chose to do something different instead. According to KDVR, Officer Joseph drove the woman to the police department in a police vehicle and assisted her in obtaining an identification card there. Also, he brought along the teller, who had insulted her in such a way as was obviously a criminal offense. But he continued to be kind in other ways as well. After that, they returned to the bank just before it closed, and Officer Robert assisted the woman in taking money out of the account. In addition to this, he intimidated them by telling them that the behaviors in question are not acceptable, that the woman has every right to sue them, and that she will be awarded a significant sum of money as compensation for what occurred. However, the young lady was so polite and sweet, and she was pleased with what the officer did for her, that she urged Officer Joseph to let the prejudiced woman go, stating that a few days would be sufficient to teach her the lesson. When some time had passed, the police department uploaded a photo of Officer Joseph walking the woman back into the bank, and the image quickly gained widespread attention online. One user commented on Facebook posts published by the police department, saying this officer is a saint. All this adolescent girl wants is to maintain her autonomy and her dignity, the narrator says. Also, the officer assisted her in a respectful manner. Thank you for your service. Another person concurred, saying, "We frequently just hear negative news from officers, and we can't judge everyone the same. Officer Robert Joseph, I want to express my gratitude to you for assisting the young lady. If it had been my daughter or sister, you would have done the same thing. I pray that God will bless you, and I'm grateful for your service." Look at how respectful and humble this cop is. He sincerely believes that what he did was not a huge problem at all. In addition, the prejudiced woman was terminated from her job at the bank due to her behavior. The actions that she had taken were not tolerated by the community, and calls were made for her to be fired. In addition, the administration of the bank issued an apology to the young woman in the statement. In another situation, rude passenger gets punished for insulting flight attendants. After raising a disturbance and showing disrespect to the flight attendants, a man was ultimately forced to be restrained with duct tape since the attendants had no other option. He boasted that he came from a very wealthy family while claiming that he had no fear of being penalized in any way. Flight attendants receive comprehensive training that covers everything from basic first aid to how to defend themselves in a dangerous situation. Because of the alarmingly high number of flight attendants who are sadly assaulted by passengers, airline firms are now compelled to provide their employees with these trainings. An irate passenger on Frontier Airlines who is 22 years old was accused of sexually assaulting two female flight attendants, which caused a disturbance on the aircraft during which he struck another member of the crew. The incident occurred on a flight that was operated by Frontier Airlines. Before being ordered to take a seat, eyewitnesses noticed the passenger, identified as Maxwell Berry, molesting the flight attendants. He yelled at the flight attendants that his parents were worth several $1,000,000 and continued to refuse to cooperate with them. Even after the flight attendant merely nodded in a way that he suggested she was waiting for him to finish, he continued. He continued to roar at the top of his lungs, saying, "The value of my grandfather exceeds that of this airplane." As his other travelers heard him say this, several of them couldn't contain their laughter and burst out in peals of it. Because his behavior was upsetting the other people on board, a member of the flight crew persisted in gently requesting that he calm down and decrease the volume of his voice. Barry may be seen on camera striking a male flight attendant who was attempting to calm him down. At one point, as a final resort, the flight attendant instructed the crew to use duct tape to bind the passenger after he was unsuccessfully subdued by the attendant, who then continued to do his best to tackle the passenger. Barry was able to continue causing a disturbance despite being restrained with duct tape, much to their regret. He attempted to squirm his way out of the tape while his fellow passengers filmed the entire incident. He was successful in doing so, and the tape that was covering his lips was able to be removed. He screamed, "Help," again, over and over again. After that, the flight attendants proceeded to get out more duct tape and carefully tape him to his seat with it in order to prevent him from moving and ranting some more. He stayed in this state until they touched down in Miami, where police escorts were ready for him to greet him upon his arrival. The judge who was assigned to his case decided that the best way to teach him a lesson was to condemn him to 60 days in prison and a year of supervised release. After breaking their protocols and seizing control of the situation to detain the passenger with duct tape, Frontier Airlines ultimately made the decision to suspend its crew members. Nevertheless, after getting backlash from the general public over their decision, they stated that the crew members had been suspended with pay while they carried out a comprehensive inquiry into the incident. This was done in response to the uproar that had been generated by their decision. After being charged with 3 separate counts of assault, Barry had to pay a bail of $1,500 before being allowed to deplane. First, he denied having touched anyone inappropriately, but after charges were brought against him, he changed his story and admitted guilt on all 3 counts of assault. The judge who was assigned to his case decided that the best way to teach him a lesson was to condemn him to 60 days in prison and a year of supervised release. In addition to that, it was requested that he pay each of his victims $15,000. He attended Ohio Wesleyan University on a golf scholarship, where he was a student there. Barry was a golfer. A great number of individuals had compassion for the flight attendants who were attempting to prevent the situation from becoming any worse by any means necessary. Many that used the internet had the opinion that it was only fair that the man receive jail time for his actions, because else he would not learn his lesson. Do you think that what they did was the appropriate response? Speaking to the Charlotte Observer, Mr. Underwood condemned the behavior of his fellow passengers, saying there is absolutely no excuse for it. It doesn't matter what you look like. Everybody deserves respect, and everybody deserves to be punished equally for being a rude person like that. The flight from LA to Charlotte is usually anywhere between 4 hours to just over 6, depending whether or not it is a non-stop flight or a connecting flight. However, this particular flight was more than 9 hours, the Charlotte Observer reported, and no one was arrested due to the incidents on board. In a statement to the Observer, American Airlines said crew members worked hard to uphold the federal mask mandate, which required people to wear them on aircrafts and at airports. We value the trust our customers place in our team to care for them throughout their journey, and we expect those who choose to fly with us to treat each other and our team members with respect, the statement said. Binding bonds through beautiful tales. Thank you for watching.